It's officially time for you to stop trying to hack the algorithm, because Etsy SEO in 2025 is far more human and far simpler than you're making it out to be. The algorithm's got this bit of a reputation that it's out to get you, that it's really overcomplicated, and if you've been finding that you're spending hours and hours researching your keywords, trying to figure out the best tool to use, comparing all of the search volumes across all of the platforms, and you're still not ranking in search, this video is exactly what you need to watch. And I've made a handy guide to go along with it too, which I'll pull up in a second. This is your permission slip to take a deep breath, step back, and let's reset what actually matters for SEO in 2025 and beyond, because you are, without a doubt, making it harder than it needs to be. The thing is, nobody ever really explains how SEO fundamentally works and why you are doing the things you do in order to rank in search. So it's no wonder that it then gets really confusing down the line when you are comparing all these keywords and you get that stuck feeling of going, I actually don't know what to do with this information now. But once you do understand how the algorithm works and how SEO works at its core, then you'll start to understand that you don't need a ton of these complicated tools and programs to actually implement keywords and implement your SEO strategy in a way that helps you to rank in search. And just in case you don't know me, hey, I'm Lauren. I am a top 1% Etsy seller, and I have been selling on Etsy since 2015. So I can tell you I have seen every algorithm shift, every change, and I've seen all of the waves of SEO panic come and go time and time again. I've built a multi-six-figure shop without ads, without social media, and literally just using the power of Etsy search. And it's not been by gaming the system, it's by implementing fundamental SEO principles that I'm going to teach you in this video. I've been helping hundreds of sellers inside the Seller Society and my memberships and beyond go from stuck and invisible on Etsy to creating consistent sales through the algorithm, through the power of SEO. And I base all of my training on core e-commerce and marketing principles, the same ones that big brands that I used to work for use. And that is why this stuff consistently works. Because SEO is not a magic formula. It's just how you communicate information from your product listing into the algorithm so that the algorithm can then decide how to rank you in search. So this video isn't going to be about gaming the algorithm. It's going to teach you how to work with the algorithm with a really simple stripped back SEO strategy that helps to connect your products with the right buyers. Because the thing is, when you learn to think like the Etsy algorithm, your SEO strategy becomes simple, consistent, and repeatable. And that means that you don't need to panic every time somebody then shouts that the algorithm has changed again. So by the end of this video, I promise that you will understand exactly how Etsy SEO works in 2025 and beyond, and you'll feel relieved and empowered that you finally know that you don't have to game some system to get yourself to show up in search. You can just show up simply and strategically and get the job done. You'll learn what the algorithm really is paying attention to and how your keywords might actually not be your biggest problem. And I'm also giving you my clear, repeatable SEO formula that will stand the test of time, so you never have to start from scratch every time somebody shouts that the algorithm has changed again. If that sounds fair, then let's dive in. So I've pulled together my simple SEO strategy into a cheat sheet for you so that you've got it all documented, you've got this to work through. It's totally free, you'll be able to grab it from the description. But I really want to walk you through it so that you actually understand, like I said at the start, how the fundamentals of Etsy search actually works, so that you understand why you are implementing the things that you do. So I've started off with what actually matters for Etsy SEO, and this is the big belief shift that I was talking about before. Etsy SEO is not as complicated as you think, okay? Years ago, sellers used to try and game the system by finding the perfect keywords, and to be honest, the algorithm did benefit people who had the perfect match to the perfect keywords. And so the way that Etsy search actually worked to rank a product was the listing that had the most perfect match to a buyer's search term would be the one that showed first. And so sellers would stuff keywords into their listings so that they could hopefully rank higher than other sellers. But Etsy search hasn't worked like that for a really, really, really long time, okay? So algorithms are the founding father of AI. They are basically just sets of instructions that help a computer solve a problem. And in Etsy's case, that basically means the problem is, how do we show the right product to the right buyer? So the goal here is not to outsmart the algorithm, it is to help it understand what your product is, exactly who it is for, and why someone would want to buy it, and match it to the person who is searching for the search terms that make the most sense for that purchase. So if you take nothing else away from this video, just keep it clear, keep it human, keep it consistent, and you will rank in search regardless of what the next Etsy update is. So you might actually be surprised to hear me say that your SEO strategy is only about 50% about your keywords. The other 50% is made up of so much more than just wording. So that perfect SEO, that perfect match to a keyword, it's just not a thing anymore. It's not how the algorithm works anymore, and it's not all you need to worry about anymore. Now, something that you really want to keep in mind before we dive into this is the fact that the way that Etsy works as a business is they don't get paid until you get paid. And so as somebody comes to Etsy and lands on a search page and starts to look at the products, you have to think about what is important to Etsy right now. Now, the longer somebody scrolls through a search page and doesn't see a product they want to click on, the more the likelihood is that they're going to just go away and find that product on another website. Equally, the more products that customer clicks on and then doesn't find what they're looking for within the product listings themselves, the more likely they're just going to bounce away and find somewhere else to find that product again. So in order for Etsy to make their money, we have to make the sale. And so it therefore makes sense that Etsy is always going to prioritize in search the products that are the most likely to convert for a search term, or the most likely to convert for that person, and all of the things that the algorithm knows about that person, which we'll get to in a minute. Now, don't panic if you are brand new to Etsy, if you are just listing products. Your brand new listings do get a temporary boost in search so that Etsy can figure out what your listing is all about and who it should show it to. But if you have products that have been sat there for weeks and months and maybe even years, not getting any clicks, not getting any conversions, not getting any great reviews, then it stands to reason, surely, now that you understand how the algorithm works, that Etsy is going to stop prioritizing that product in search, because Etsy wants to make the sale as much as you do. And so it's going to show the products that are most likely to convert and are most likely to sell to that person. So that other 50% of your SEO strategy, the 50% that isn't just keywords, that is made up of things like your click-through rate. So how many people are actually clicking on your product in search, which means that your thumbnail is really important. It's made up of your conversion rate. So how many of those people who click through then go on to make a purchase? And it's made up of things like your engagement in your listings. For example, how many people are favoriting, how many people are adding to the basket, how many people are spending time on your listing pages. It's also made up of things like your shop reputation. So how many great reviews you've got, making sure that you have no cases against you, that you have no policy infringements, anything like that, that you have a generally good shop that's set up in good standing with Etsy. You've got all your policies in place and Etsy trusts you as a merchant to sell stuff to their customers. So basically, if you think about it like this, Etsy rewards good behavior, but it also rewards performance of your listings. So the more people you can get to click on your listing, to buy your listing, to favorite a listing, to convert, to check out, and to leave amazing reviews for your listing, the higher your overall standing in search will be for that product and for your shop in general. And so that actually leads me on to my next point, which is your thumbnail might actually be the biggest problem, not your keywords. Because the thing is, think about it like this. You could have the best match to keywords in the world, but if your thumbnail is not enticing enough to get that first click, if it doesn't stand out against your competition, if it doesn't make customers want to check out your product and see more, then it doesn't matter how good your SEO is. It doesn't matter how much time you spent researching your keywords, because ultimately you are not going to get that click. And so Etsy is going to stop showing your products in search, full stop. So clear, well-lit photos, high quality mock-ups, scroll stopping images matter so much more than trying to find the best possible keyword. The other thing to keep in mind is that this is a new era of SEO now that AI has hit the market. So like I said before, AI algorithms are the founding fathers of AI. And Etsy has sold us itself that it is investing in more AI tools to serve the right products to the right customers. But not only that, Etsy has recently partnered with OpenAI to be able to recommend your products in searches like in ChatGPT, to actually allow customers to buy your product right there in ChatGPT without ever having to leave the app. So all of this means that in this new era of AI, whilst your SEO strategy and fundamentals don't change, you need to be really giving the algorithm context around your listings. Etsy told us a couple of years back now that they are using descriptions to give your listing extra context. So whilst not all of your listing has always helped you to rank in search in Etsy, it has helped to give the algorithm more context about maybe who your product is perfect for, maybe use cases, maybe extra details that aren't in your tags and titles. But also this is going to help with shopping searches in tools like ChatGPT. Say, for example, where somebody has opened a ChatGPT search and has asked for recommendations for the perfect gift for their musician husband, who is not a typical cheesy music lover. He is an actual serious musician who is maybe looking for a quality gift that isn't your typical run-of-the-mill personalized Spotify code printed onto a mug. And so if you think about the way that somebody would search those kind of things in a tool like ChatGPT, you want to be weaving in phrases that make sense within your descriptions as well. But we're going to go deeper into that later in the video. So you want to be making sure you're using your descriptions to give the algorithm and AI tools extra context around what your listing is, who it's perfect for, and any of those things that you maybe couldn't fit into your tags and titles. All right, so now that you know that keywords aren't everything, let's scroll down to how to actually keep it simple. So I've given you a checklist here of what you really need to think about. So how to understand the algorithm, exactly what we've talked about so far. I've given you also a checklist on titles, tags, descriptions, photos, and the experience you are providing for your customers, so you can work through this at your own pace. But basically, I want you to just keep in mind that you need to think like your buyer. So what would your buyer be typing into a search bar? So if you put yourself in your buyer's shoes, what kind of phrases might you be typing into the search bar that would help you to find your product? Think about what they are shopping for right now. What occasion or need might they have? What style or material might they be drawn to? And you can even use ChatGPT or even Etsy's marketplace insights to brainstorm a few ideas. And then what I really love to do is I like to come to Etsy and I like to put some of those ideas into the search bar so that I can actually see if Etsy is showing me whether or not this is something that is likely to be being searched on Etsy right now. So if, for example, I was looking for a guitar related gift for my husband, I might start searching the word guitar gift and see what comes up. Guitar gifts for bass guitar. Then I might think, okay, well, if I'm selling guitar gifts for bass guitarists, I might actually start searching that search term too, like bass guitar, and see what else comes up. Bass guitar bracelet, gift, ring, knobs, print, right? And so I can then start to, if I am selling in this space, I can start to think about all of the different ways that somebody might be searching for my products. This is by far one of my favorite ways to find keywords because it is the only place we actually get access to Etsy's data, apart from in the new Marketplace Insights tool, which I've got a separate video on and I'll link it somewhere over here. Now, you absolutely can use tools like ChatGPT, like eRank, like Marmalade, like Allura, like all of those tools that you've probably heard of to do your brainstorming and your research. Just keep in mind that none of this data has Etsy's actual data plugged in, and so you need to take it with a pinch of salt because it might not be 100% accurate. So let's go back over to the guide, and I've actually given you a complete rundown of how I would start this brainstorm here. So thinking about who it's for, what it is, what the occasional use is, and what makes it special, and then brain dumping those ideas in here. This is the phrases that your customer may or may not be searching for before you go on to validate them in things like the Etsy toolbar and your Marketplace Insights. If you scroll down, then I've talked you through how to actually build your listings around those keywords too. So I want to talk you through the most important things for each part of your listing that you need to keep in mind. So your titles, Etsy has given new guidance on this more recently. Now, if you actually read through the guidance has never really changed. Etsy has always told us shorter titles work better, make them clear and consistent, make them coherent to your customer so that your customer knows exactly what it is that you are selling to them. That actually never changed, but Etsy have just been starting to be more explicit around this. And again, I've got a video that I can link for you on this and how I'm actually using the new guidance going forward. But basically, we want to keep them really, really clear. And the main purpose of your title, yes, is to have some of your keyword phrases in there so that it matches to a buyer's search term. But the most important part of it is that your customer can read that title and go, okay, yeah, that makes total sense. This is what I'm looking for. So we want to include things like what the product is, a mug, a ring, a print, a candle. Adding key traits like colour, material, size, style, things like this. So a ceramic mug, a sterling silver ring, a framed A4 art print, a non-toxic candle, right? Extra context like this is great. Keeping it really easy and clear to understand, like this example here, and only including occasions if it defines the item. This is one that Etsy really pulled out. So a lot of the time we see things like gift for her, gift for sister, perfect co-worker gift, things like this in the title. Etsy has actively told us to stop doing this because it's confusing for the customer and unnecessary for search. So you only want to use occasions like this when it is actually explicitly about the product. For example, if you are selling a birthday card, then yes, you would put birthday card in the title. If you're selling a ceramic mug that happens to be perfect for Mother's Day, you don't put Mother's Day gift in the title. Scrolling down then to your tags, you've got your 13 tags to then cover all the different buyer phrases. And this is where you will bring your gifting keywords and things like that in as well. So your recipients, your users, maybe your occasion or use case, materials and formats, the vibe, the style, like minimalist and things like that. So really thinking about the details behind your product itself. You want to use a real variety instead of repeating keywords. So a big mistake I see all the time is sellers just switching out the style and keeping the same core phrase in the tags. For example, kitchen print, dining room print, bedroom print, pink print. You don't need the word print over and over again. You want to think about all the different ways somebody might search for that product. For example, print. For example, wall art. For example, art print. For example, illustration. There's lots of different ways that people will search for that end product. And then you want to mix those in with some of these other kind of vibes, styles, materials, formats, and all of this so that you are encompassing all of those phrases that your customer may search for. Again, we are giving Etsy the full context about what it is we're selling. Then your attributes and categories are really important too. They act like tags themselves, and Etsy has always said to us that you don't have to include anything that is in your attributes in your tags as well. So that frees up space for extra context in your tags. Your descriptions you want to write for humans, but think about those phrases that customers might be searching for both on Etsy and also in AI settings, for example, when they're looking for solutions, when they are looking for products that fit a desire or a pain point that they have or a problem that they are trying to solve. Think about what your product is and how it solves those problems or meets those desires, and then how your customer might type that phrase into something like ChatGPT. And then you can use that in natural phrasing within your descriptions. Now, if you are inside the Seller Society, you already have access to my AI tools, my small biz sidekicks, which really help you to speed up this process. You've got Scout the SEO sidekick, who does your keyword research for you and comes up with phrases that you can then go and validate. You have Theo, who writes your titles and tags, and Dougie, who writes your description. So all of these bots are trained on my methods and on exactly what I'm teaching you here. So like I say, if you are already inside the Seller Society, make sure you go and check those out, because that's going to really speed this process up for you. But basically, your description wants to start with what it is, who it's for, and why it's special. You're bringing in those natural keyword phrases that help with your SEO, but also help to give context to the algorithm and to your customer. You're adding in any key details like materials, size, colors, or how it's made, and answering any FAQs that you get that your customer might need to know before they purchase. This is where you are locking in the sale through your words. And so you want to make sure you are writing for your buyer. I like to write my descriptions like I am just chatting to somebody. Maybe I've got a shop that I'm selling this product in, and how I might chat to my buyer about this product and answering what kind of questions they might have about it. So just to wrap up, you really want to just make sure you are keeping this so human so that your buyer feels really connected to these products as well, because this is the part where we are locking in the sale. And then I've also included a section on your photography. So making sure you're doing all of those things that we've talked about, making sure that main image is designed to get the first click, and the rest of your images are really designed to lock in that sale and to convert that buyer, so that you can keep feeding the algorithm in a really simple and straightforward way. Because now we know that the algorithm cares as much about what your buyer is doing with your listing as it does about the keywords that you are putting in your listing too. So I just want to wrap this up with this final reminder that SEO isn't about hacking the algorithm. It is just about matching what real people are searching for. So you don't need to stress about using all of the keyword tools out there. You just need to keep it really simple. Think about how your buyer is behaving. Think about what they are searching for, and type those things into the search bar and see what's dropping down on Etsy, and then set up your listings in a way that makes sense for your buyer and for the algorithm. The algorithm just needs to understand what your product is, any context around who it might be perfect for, or what kind of problems it solves, what kind of desires it solves, what kind of style it is. That is all you need to feed to the algorithm in order for it to understand what your product is and to start testing out getting it in front of different buyers. And honestly, 99% of the sellers that I work with, their time is better spent on improving their photography, improving their mock-ups, rather than searching for the next best keyword, because 9 times out of 10 it is that thumbnail that is not getting the first click, and the rest of the process can't happen then because nobody is seeing your listing in the first place and Etsy stops showing it in search. So keep your keywords clear and relevant. Make sure your thumbnails are really strong and really clickable. Use descriptive, human-friendly titles and descriptions, and make sure you're providing an amazing customer experience that leads to your customers leaving you rave reviews, because all of those things are going to help you to rank higher in the algorithm, get found more in search, and ultimately go on to sell more of your products. So final reminder to please stop panicking anytime somebody says the algorithm has changed, because if you apply this simple SEO strategy, you will never need to worry about that again, because you're already set up for success. And if you want to grab your copy of this cheat sheet, I've left the link in the description below. Plus, I have left the link to the Seller Society, which is where you can get access to my AI assistants that will help you out with all of this, plus tons more resources and my support inside the society too. But I just wanted to leave you with one final reminder that your job isn't to chase the algorithm, it isn't to hack the algorithm, it is just to make your products easy for the algorithm to understand and irresistible for your customers to buy. I'll see you in the next video.